Heirlooms by Design with Sharon LoMonaco is sponsored by Capital Imports, your passport for fine lace, embroideries, and fabrics, by OmniGrid, the most accurate and versatile products for the quilter, artist, and craftsperson, and by Quilts Plus, your authorized Bernina dealer. Now, here's Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon LoMonaco. Thanks for joining me on Heirlooms by Design. With today's technique, we will be using the serger with serger patchwork. You know, when I'm piecing together a piece of patchwork that's not going to be quilted or otherwise backed with another piece of fabric, I want those seams finished. Many of you know just how neurotic I get about having the inside of our work look as good as the outside. Well, in this case, the serger is the answer. When we use the serger to piece our patchwork, the seams are beautifully finished, and the fabric that we create is ready to be designed and made into a beautiful garment. Let's look at some of my samples of serger patchwork. With this Christmas skirt, the triangles were individually pieced, then the rows of bands were added on, and it was set onto a favorite skirt pattern. For the hem, I've used the prairie points, and this makes an attractive and easy hem. Now, the band on this card trick skirt was entirely strip pieced. I know many of you have some fond memories of piecing the basic card trick skirt in our quilting class. Well, the strip piecing on this band was much easier and much faster. This pink and lavender skirt was a variation on the skirt that I'm wearing. In this case, we used 3 rows of hearts. I decided that being shorter, I needed something that had fewer hearts in it, so this skirt has only 2 rows of hearts. And then the finishing bands were added on, and I've ended it with just a regular hem. I've also cut the bands in this skirt so that it will accommodate an A-line pattern. I felt that I wanted to have less gathers around my tummy where it's going to add weight. And some of you may feel the same. Now, this beautiful skirt is an example of curved Seminole. And on this one, I've used a ruffle with a narrow rolled hem done on the serger for the finishing. Now, I think this little girl's pinafore and dress is just as cute as can be, with its Seminole patchwork at the collar as well as around the bottom of the pinafore. Now, let's get started with serger patchwork.
Sharon will be right back.
The first thing we need to do is to cut our fabric into strips. Now, I've already done that with my blue and my black fabric. We're going to be using the rotary cutter and a ruler. We get a much more accurate cut with a rotary cutter than we do with a pair of scissors. I've laid my fabric on my cutting mat, and I have folded this in half so that we have 4 layers here. And I've lined up my folded edge with one of the lines on my cutting mat. And now with my ruler, I'm going to square off one end. Now I can just continue to cut 2-inch strips across this fabric. When I move my ruler, I'm going to leave my previous strip in place and line my 2-inch mark up with the lines on my cutting mat. And we'll just continue until we have all of our strips cut. Now I have all the strips cut into 2-inch pieces to make up the patchwork band. And I've lined them up. We have strip number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these 4 strips will make up our entire design. To begin with, let's just take the 2 pieces of number 1 and we'll just serge them. We will not be cutting off any of the seam allowance. We're just going to let the edge of the fabric run by the blade, and any little fuzzies that may be hanging off will be removed. Now we'll open our 2 pieces and place our next strip on the top. Now we'll use strip number 4. And we just need to continue in this manner, laying one piece on top of the other with the right sides together until we have completed all 4 of our bands.
Heirlooms by Design will return in a moment.
Now that we have all of our bands sewn together, we're going to cut these into 2-inch strips. Now I have these layered. I have band 1 on the top, band 2 underneath, 3 and 4. And I'd like you to notice that I have pressed the seams in opposite directions. On band 1, the seams are pressed to the right, on band 2 to the left, on band 3 to the right, and on band 4 to the left. This is so that our squares will fit together nicely. And I have layered these on top of each other, feeling where the seams fall so that they're right on top of each other. And I'm just going to secure this with a few pins so that our pieces don't come separated as we cut. Now let's just line up one of our cut edges. And again, the first thing we're going to do is to square off the right-hand side. Now we can continue to cut 2-inch strips. Now any place that our pin might interfere with our rotary cutter, we do want to remove it. Be sure that you get a good grip on your ruler as you're going through all of these layers. When we finish cutting these, I'm going to pin each little bundle together, and they'll be already arranged in sewing order. And here's our last one. Now that we have all of our strips cut into 2-inch sections, I'm going to show you one other little tip. I'd like to show you how to make a curved patchwork that will fit into an A-line skirt. So we're going to make an additional cut. We'll lay our ruler down at the 2-inch mark at the bottom, but at the top we want it to be on the 1 3/4 inch mark. And we're going to be trimming just a little smidge of this off. And here's what we've taken out. And I'm just going to continue all the way across until we have this little piece, this little wedge, taken out of each of our pieces. This will make it so that when we sew them together, the band will be narrower at the top than it will at the bottom. And that way it'll go into an A-line skirt pattern very nicely. Quarter of an inch doesn't seem like a whole lot to cut out, but when you multiply that by the number of bands that are in this skirt, it comes out to be a considerable distance. Now, we're ready to sew all of these together. And I'm going to secure each of these little packets with a pin, because these are already in sewing order. We just have to take these to the machine and lay them down and start putting them together. Okay, are we ready to go sew?
We'll be right back. This new product presentation with Hollis Turnbow is brought to you by Quilts Plus, the only complete source for all your quilting and other heirloom sewing supplies.
Today Hollis has a lot of things from Betty Boink, and let's take a look at some of her patterns and books and her templates.
Betty is certainly an industry when it comes to quilting.
It looks like it.
I don't know how many books Betty has published over the last several years, but within the last 2 or 3 years she has expanded the basic book concept into a number of additional or auxiliary items. For instance, this is her book, Double Wedding Ring Design Variations, in which in the book she will show a number of traditional ways that the double wedding ring was put together. Double wedding ring was really a very popular design, especially during the 30s, and it continues to be that way. But in addition to the book, then Betty has developed a videotape, which gives very detailed instructions by a teacher, an absentee teacher, in how to do her particular method. Then next, she has developed a series of templates.
And these templates are wonderful.
They're wonderful because it makes it so easy to do. The interesting thing about Betty's variation, the double wedding ring, is the wedges inside this arc here are all done on the straight rather than on the angle as traditional, which makes it much faster to do that. And there is a plastic template in for each of the sections as you have in your hand.
Right.
And you can see that even though it's on the straight, it it balances. It's
That's right.
nicely balanced.
Without all that tedious stitching of each
That's
individual
right.
piece.
And it's again just a strip cutting technique. 5 particular graduated colors or coordinated colors. It's sewn together. Then with a rotary cutter, just slice it out, and then you have the whole arc rather than have to cut little individual pieces.
And this is the most accurate double wedding ring template that I have ever seen. I've cut several without Betty's template, and the ones that I've cut with it went together perfectly the first time.
That's important, and the reason that the designers are able to achieve that is they're all done by laser cutting now.
Right.
And gives a very accurate. When you use a plastic template like this, of course, the seam allowances are all built in. And then Betty designed two particular quilting stencils, which is available from the stencil company. So you have everything here. You don't have to trace anything out of the book. Very nice, detailed double wedding ring. Makes it very easy. And if you want to do a quick, fast, wonderful, wonderful quilt, this is the solution.
It certainly is. Thank you for showing us these today, and I'm really delighted to know that she has videos
Thank
too.
you. Videos for it, yes.
Yes, those are a real help.
This new product presentation with Hollis Turnbow has been brought to you by Quilts Plus, the only complete source for all your quilting and other heirloom sewing supplies.
Now we're ready to sew all of our little bundles together. Now I have 9 here, and we will need 8 or 9 in our skirt depending upon how wide we want the bottom, how much fullness we want. I'm just going to take off the pin, and when we position our first strip, we want the second strip to come down 1 square, and we want our seams to match. And you'll notice that they will just nest together nicely because we've pressed our seam allowances in opposite directions. Now we're ready to begin sewing. And just sew from 1 square to the next square, being sure that your seams are matching. Now we'll take strip number 3 and place it on again 1 square down from the previous band that we sewed on. And you want to be sure that your seam allowances that lay underneath go in the correct direction. Now our 4th band goes right on top, again 1 square down. Now our first repeat is sewn, and we'll just take our next bundle. We have strip number 1 on top, and we'll just continue to sew these until all of them are sewn together. Remember, the piece that you're putting on top always goes down 1 square. Once we get this section sewn on, we'll be able to see our design starting to take shape. Now piece number 2. Down 1 square. One of your seam allowances flips up. Just lift your presser foot and fix it. One more piece and we'll have 2 repeats together. See how quickly this goes? Now I'd like to show you that we have 2 repeats and we can now begin to see our double heart design. We're going to continue in this manner until we have the rest of our strips sewn together.
We'll be back right after this message.
Now that we have all of our little bundles sewn together, our lower band is finished. But I want you to notice that on each end we have an angle, and we need to sew those together so that we form a cylinder. And we're going to do that the same way that we sewed the original strips together. Take the first one, lay it on top of the last one, and down 1 square. And now we have a complete cylinder. Let's turn it right side out. Notice our beautifully finished seams. We'll turn it right side out and you can see our design. At this point we're ready to attach our bands to the top and the bottom. And I have another piece here that I've completed that step on, so let me just show you how it looks. This is what the finished bottom edge will look like. I hope you've enjoyed Serger Patchwork today. The pattern for today's double heart skirt is available from LoMonaco Designs, as well as the patterns for the Christmas skirt and the card trick skirt. Well, as always, I've enjoyed visiting with you, and I hope you will continue to tune in to Heirlooms by Design. In the coming weeks, we have some wonderful guests and many exciting techniques to show you. They will range from quilting, French machine sewing, to machine embroidery techniques. And all of them will be Heirlooms by Design.
Heirlooms by Design has been brought to you by Capital Imports, by Omnigrid, and by Quilts Plus. If you'd like more information on the supplies and techniques used in today's show, then drop us a note to Quilts Plus, 1211 Noble Street, Anniston, Alabama 36201. That's Quilts Plus, 1211 Noble Street, Anniston, Alabama 36201. Sharon will be back with more Heirlooms by Design next week.